With me here I've got some broccoli seedlings and some cauliflower seedlings. It's very hard to differentiate between broccoli and cauliflower seedlings, but if you look close enough, you can tell from the true seedlings. Here we have the broccoli leaves. You can tell from the true seedlings and the second set of leaves. The difference is that the cauliflower leaves are more jagged around the edges, and the broccoli leaves are just more on the round side, even though they are also quite jagged and not straight. But this is our cauliflower here, and this is our broccoli seedlings. So this is what I'm going to showcase in my transplanting today, and I'm just going to show you how to put your seedlings in. So don't have your pumps on in the garden. Please have on some more suitable shoes, maybe a pair of gumboots if you own one. So these broccoli transplants that I have here are about 5 weeks old. Normally broccoli transplants you put in when they're about 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks old. So as you can see, our seedlings here, safari seedlings, retain their seedling plug, and when we put them in, they still have their roots quite intact for when we put them into the hole. So the first step of my broccoli transplanting is digging a well-sized hole. So I've wet my soil prior to putting the hole in. This helps the seedlings with the transplanting shock because they don't go into an environment that's too dry. So I've dug my hole, and the hole should be big enough for your transplants to fit. Make sure when putting your seedlings in, you don't bend the root system, as this causes what we know as J-rooting. So J-rooting is when your roots have been forced into the hole and there isn't enough space for them to branch out as they grow. So make sure your hole is big enough for your seedlings as you put them in. So into the hole my seedling goes. You cover it up nice and well, and make sure not to force the soil onto the seedling plug. Once that's done, your seedling is set and good to go. You can add on some more water if you like, for good measure. And there you go. A little bit on your basal fertilizer application. I'm also going to do a little segment on top dressing of your fertilizer, just to show you the difference between the two fertilizer applications. So with basal fertilizer application, this is the application of the fertilizer that you put in to your soil during your soil preparation stages. This allows the soil to get a good nutrient composition before your transplants go into the soil. So the first stage is to dig a hole into the soil, and then you can incorporate as much as 5 grams of your compound C or your compound D into the soil. So I'm going to incorporate 5 grams of the basal fertilizer compound D into the soil. After that, you make sure to mix your compound D well with the soil, and then you can cover up your hole when you're done. The next stage is to water well the areas in which you've incorporated the fertilizer, just to allow the fertilizer to melt and mix with the soil. And by the time your transplants come in, they have a readily melted fertilizer that's leached well into the soil and is ready to deposit nutrients into the roots of the plant. The second second method that I'm going to demonstrate for you is incorporation of your basal fertilizer at transplanting. This is for growers who like to put in their basal fertilizer as they transplant. The trick with this is to make sure that your fertilizer is well mixed with the soil to avoid the roots of your transplant getting burnt by the fertilizer. It's not wise to put in your fertilizer and then put your seedlings directly on top of the fertilizer. So you mix your soil well with the fertilizer, and then you take your transplant seedling. In this stage I'm going to demonstrate transplanting of a cauliflower transplant, which is about 5 weeks old. So after mixing my soil well with the fertilizer, you make sure that your hole is deep enough to avoid J-rooting or bending of the root system. Make sure your seedling is covered very well by the soil, and then after that you water well again as you would do during your soil preparation stages. So basically with the two methods that I've just shown you, it's important to make sure that your area where your fertilizer has been incorporated is watered well to allow the fertilizer to leach well into the soil and to melt. So your spacing between your broccoli plants should be between 45 and 60 centimeters between your plants. This allows them to have as much nutrient availability as possible between plants, and there's less competition between your plants as they grow. And it also allows them to grow to full capacity and have a big head size as they grow.